Now let me ask you, when the money comes in, will that help you and your family? Yeah, of course it will. Now, the only exception is that when you have to stay in intensive care, they're going to send you $600 a day for up to 2 full weeks. The reason why it's $600 a day is because usually when you're in intensive care, it's a life or death situation. Does that make sense? Now, the second area that they are concerned with was your final expenses. Now, Sam, who is going to be responsible for taking care of your funeral and final expenses when something happens to you? Now, let me ask, have either one of you ever had to plan a funeral? The reason that I ask is that it's a very serious problem. Now, the concern is not the fact that you're going to die, because we all are, right? But when we die, someone in our family has to face a funeral director immediately. Funeral directors these days require all or the bulk of the payment up front. Yeah. And sometimes on the spot before they start doing anything, or they at least want to know where the money is going to come from. Did you guys realize that? A lot of people don't. So while your family is waiting for life insurance to come in, who has to take care of things in the meantime? That's right, the family. Or you, Molly. They either have to take the money out of savings, if they have it, or worse yet, borrow it. Does that make sense? So now, what they've done is set up the Freedom of Choice certificate to take care of your final expenses. If you qualify, each of you will receive your own certificate that looks like this. Now, they call it freedom of choice because it's good at any funeral home. The way this works is when something happens to you, Sam and Mary, you take the certificate to any funeral home you choose, and when the funeral director looks up and asks you and says, "How are you going to pay for this?" you just hand over this certificate. At that point, Sam has the freedom of choice. Everything is taken care of from this point on. Sam, in your case, they've set aside $15,000. Molly, in your case, they've also set aside $15,000 to take care of your funeral and final expenses. What's not used in the funeral home gets sent to your beneficiary. Now let me ask you, Sam and Molly, isn't it nice to finally have this taken care of for you and your family? Huh? Yeah, exactly. Each of the kids are covered for a $10,000 benefit that can be converted to a $50,000 amount at age 21, regardless of their health benefits or habits. Yeah, pretty nice, hey? That they can keep this for the rest of their life. Yeah, that's pretty nice, hey? Now, the only exception to this, when you die before the age of 65, it will typically be in some kind of accident, right? Sam, when something happens to you in any type of accident, not only will they immediately take care of all your final expenses, but they are going to send your family an additional $3,000 to help out during that time. When we die in an accident, what kind of accident will it probably be? Yeah, that's right, a car accident. In that case, they're going to send an additional $3,000 plus take care of all final expenses. And when traveling on a common carrier like a bus, plane, or train, they will send an additional $125,000 to the family. Each of your children are covered for 20% of that of you guys for that same accidental deaths. Does that make sense? The third problem that they're concerned about is your paycheck. Sam, you're on your way home from work and you get killed in a car accident or pass away from a stroke or heart attack. Is your paycheck going to keep coming in to support Molly and the family? Of course not. Your paycheck vanishes just like that. But taking care of the family, putting food on the table, paying the bills, those all stay pretty much the same. So, Molly, the bills keep coming in months after months, and Sam's paycheck is gone, right? But let me ask you, you do have life insurance, right? Hopefully. And you do realize that all the members do have life insurance. But here's what happens in a typical situation. When you die, your family immediately has to start dipping into those lump sums. First, for reimbursement of your burial and miscellaneous expenses, and then because your paychecks have stopped coming in, you have to keep dipping into your savings to pay bills and put food on the table. And then a year or two later, what happens to all that money? Yeah, that's right. It's completely disappeared. It's vanished. It's gone. Yeah, that's what happens to money. So here's your paycheck protection or readjustment income. Sam, when something happens to you, they're going to start sending Molly a paycheck the very next month and every single month after that for a minimum of 1 full year. Now, the reason they chose at least a year is because you need a decent time to adjust. A couple of months just isn't enough. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, what they're going to do in your case, Sam, when you die, they're going to start sending Molly this amount every single month for X amount of years. For any cause of death, Molly, when something happens to Sam and they send you and your family that check every month, that will give your family time to adjust, right? Of course it will. Now, Molly, you'll be in a position that when this does happen, you take the money you receive and get it invested for your future children's education and retirement. Does that make sense? And Molly, when something happens to you, Sam will receive this amount for the same amount of years. Now, this does build an emergency fund. After 3 years, if things ever get tight financially, there will be some money to help you take care of your program during that time so you don't lose it. There are also paid up benefits, so when you retire, you can stop contributing to the program and keep a reduced paid up final expense benefit for the rest of your life. Pretty nice, hey? Have you ever thought about what you will do when you are diagnosed with a terminal illness? Yeah. Well, they put a lot of thought into that too. In fact, they realize that you're going to need a lot of money. When you're diagnosed with a terminal illness and not expected to live more than a year, they're going to send you half the final expense and paycheck protection. The other half will come to your family after you are gone. There, Yeah, there is a strike and layoff clause so that you can't lose your program. In fact, in case of a union strike, they will take care of your insurance benefits for you up to a year, and you never have to pay it back. Sam, even if you can't work just one day because of a strike, they will take care of your benefits not only for a week, which is, but for the whole month, which is, and on layoffs, as long as you've been working for the past 12 months, they will take care of your program for up to 3 months and you never have to pay it back. Pretty nice, hey? Yeah, it's nice to have that kind of protection and know you've got that in case you have to strike. I agree. Also, the insurance benefits are guaranteed and non-cancelable, which means if you qualify, then no matter what happens in the future to your health, age, or habits, no one can ever take that away from you. Does that make sense? Cool. Now, I have showed you what setting aside 2 hours will do for your family. Let's review it to make sure that it's clear. Your accidental injury benefits are there for your family. Your freedom of choice certificate covers you and Molly and the children for any cause of death is and is there until it needs to be used. Your paycheck protection and all your protections on the side here. Make sure no matter what happens moving forward, you never have to lose your benefits after today, even if you change jobs, get very sick, or move. Again, can you see why this is so important for your family? Yeah. Now, my job, because of what your brother Jim did for you, is to help you to get enrolled in what you qualify for. The best part is they set this up like a payroll deduction, but they do it once a month through your own checking account. That way, when you change jobs or retire, you never have to worry about losing the insurance benefits because they are under your control, not your employers or the unions. Pretty nice, hey? Now, Sam and Molly, let's face it, we're all going to die. We don't have a choice in that matter. Either we deal with this now or something in your immediate family, brother, sister, will have to deal with this when something happens. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now,